Hello, hi, good evening, everybody. It's good to see you. This is Anna, and I would like to talk report cards, which is something I have promised to do for quite a while. So, as usual, not a very well known platform, so do bear with me whilst I share the video and invite a couple of people to come live because I would love to answer questions. I would love to make sure that this is resolved before the video ends because it's a lot easier to resolve and respond whilst I am live than to wait and try and catch up retrospectively. That's quite difficult for me to do at the moment. So bear with me, please. I will take a moment of your time. It will not be longer than that. We are talking report cards and it is I need signs. Hello, Nana. Hi. Welcome. It's good to see you all the time. Hi, everybody. I hope you are well. I am talking report cards, so I want to shoot this to a couple of networks where I know that I do have interested audience, so I'd invite them to come join us in the discussion. It is a lot easier if I have people on live to ask me questions so I can respond to them than to try and mop up retrospectively, because that is a big challenge for me right now. Hi, Emmanuel. Hi. Thanks for joining. This is one for parents. I've got to declare openly from the beginning. This is one for people looking to understand your children's report cards. And it's something which has come up because of discussions that I've held with people recently. I know that as teachers, we write in code and there is a lot of professional jargon. And I'm going to attempt to debunk it for you and make sense of your kid's report card a lot better for you. Hi everybody. All right. So most typical report cards look like the one I snapped for you earlier on today. Let's see if I can bring it up. So this is the typical report card. Slight variations, but a lot of things very similar. It tells you the subject. And it tells you the Key Stage 4 progress target. And then it tells you the end of year target for the child. And then it tells you term 1, where your child is current grades. So let me give you some of the short code. EOY is end of year. So if your child is in year 7, this is what's expected for the kid to achieve by the end of year 7. End of year, EOYTG, end of year targets. Key Stage 4, so KS4PG, Key Stage 4 progress grade, the progressive grade. They are looking at your kids' Key Stage 2 scores, and they use that to predict the progress grade end of Key Stage 4. And then they break it down to your end of year. So if you are supposed to have your Key Stage 4 target is, say, a B, we expect that by the end of year 11, when you do your GCSEs, you will come out with a B. That's the expectation. Obviously, they might not expect that you will get a B in year 10. If you're going to be on target to get a B in year 11, it might be sensible to target you a C for year 10. And then to make that extra progress to a B in year 11. So when you look on your report card, you will see a lot of this jargon, and I just want to explain. Make sure you understand what they mean. A lot of kids are conning parents because they understand that you haven't got the foggiest what the report card says. We do have attainment grades and we do have attitudinal grades. So some schools will tell you ATL, attitude to learning. So on this child's attitude to learning, you see good, outstanding, blah, de blah, average, blah. That is actually not anything to do with academic performance, nothing. It tells you how your kid behaves in class. It tells you how they deal with work. It's a judgment teachers make based on whether your kid is quick to start work. Do they faff about before they get started? Do they put in everything, give it all, or do they just coast? Are they kids who are disruptive? blah, blah, blah. Your behavior and performance in class is what is your attitude to learning. So in this kid's report, it says Arabic 2 is good. For me, as a parent, once I see good, the question is, why is it not outstanding? Because this is just your attitude, just your attitude. Nothing to do with performance. This is whether you get started when the teacher asks you to get started, whether you complete work when the teacher asks you to complete work, whether you sit and you are sensible, whether you hand homework in on time. I want you to understand exactly what goes into the ATL grade so that when your kid brings you a good in attitude to learning, you ask a question, because a good is not good enough when it comes to attitude. We all have different attainments. We have different abilities, but my good God, we can try. Even the weakest kid in a class can still get outstanding for their attitude to learning if they are keen, if they try, if the teacher sees that they give it all, but it might not be an A star, but they've done everything they can. Attitude to learning is one of the things that you demand the highest standard for from your kids. And because the attitude to learning standard is high, attainment will also be in line. So this kid, for example, is good in computer science. But it's interesting. The kid is targeted an A, performing at an A star already. End of year target is an A star and the current grade is an A star, but the teacher says good. That is a nice topic for parents' evening. When you go to parents' evening, you want to pull that teacher to one side and ask. So the kid is good in class. I understand. What could they do to be better? What are they not currently doing? What only makes them good? I am not challenging it. It is your professional judgment and I respect it. I accept it. But I am asking, what can this child do to make better? Because this kid is in danger of becoming complacent. Complacent. The kid has already hit their end of year 11 target in year 10. And so if you allow such a kid without challenge, for the next 2 years, there is absolutely no challenge in school. There is absolutely nothing to push them. They've done it all and they coast, they become complacent. They would only come crashing down. For such a kid, the attitude to learning will be the one thing you pick up on, the one thing you stand on to challenge this kid and to push this kid and to keep this kid performing at that top. Because maintaining that level for 18 months is a very difficult job. That kid is not going to have the emotional maturity to do it on their own. That kid will begin to switch off in class because they've already hit it. How do you hit your end of year 11 target in the first term of year 10? And for me as a parent, it's a discussion I would go to school and have if it was my kid. If it was my kid. If it is your kid, you should also have that discussion with school. Okay, so what do we do with this kid for the next 18 months? What are you going to extend? And some schools will quickly put this kid in end of year 10 to take that GCSE, and then they can have other AS courses and things for this kid to take. And that would be one to look at if you end up with such a kid who needs to look at something like that. Chemistry is an A star, end of key stage 4. Again. But what was very interesting was that computer science where the kid is targeted only an A at key stage 4, the progressive grade, but because of attainment, the end of year target for grade year 11 has been adjusted to an A star, but at the end of term 1, current grade, that A star has already been hit. That kid has hit all the targets. And that kid's attitude is only reported as good because the kid is becoming complacent. There is a problem there. There's a problem developing. You have to nip this in the bud before it becomes a continuous attitude in that program. You have to challenge that kid. You have to push that kid, and you need to work together with school. You are both on the same side, pushing this kid, extending this kid so the kid doesn't switch off. Complacency is a very dangerous thing for a child who is able. Another interesting one is a subject where they've only targeted this kid an 8, when in the grade levels there is a 9. The end of year target is an 8. The key stage 4 target is an 8. And the current grade is an 8. It means they are not challenging this kid. The expectation is so low and the kid has hit it and is coasting. Not acceptable. But I like this teacher. The kid is targeted an A star, end of key stage 4. Kid end of year target in year 10 is A star. The current grade is still A star, but the physics teacher says good. Means that this physics teacher is demanding a little bit more. This is a teacher looking to push your kid. This is a teacher to get on side. This teacher is saying good is not good enough. I want more. So you want to go and approach this teacher because that's the message the teacher is actually giving to you, written in code on your kid's report card. The teacher is screaming that your kid can do so much better, but I am limited. I need you to look at your kid, and I do that all the time. I cannot approach you to come make life difficult for us in school. I can't do that. I will get into trouble. So when I do my progress grades, I will do odd things like that. A kid who is at the creme de la creme, I will still say satisfactory, acceptable, because I want you to come and have a conversation with me. I want you to come and see me privately. Some of these things written in your report is an open invitation for you to get in touch with me. So this teacher says your kid should be getting an A star end of year 11. School says that they will get to end of year 10, but your kid has already got to end of term 1. But I am still saying your kid can do better. Come and speak to me. Come and speak to me. Come and let's have a discussion. I need to chat to you privately. Teachers do this all the time, but a lot of us have absolutely no idea what these signals mean. You don't get what the teachers are trying to say to you, and that's why I want to have this conversation. When your children's report card comes, depending on where you live and whether you do get a termly report or not, you will have, a lot of you would have SIMs, and you will have progress reports, you will have progress data entered, and if you've requested access, you can see them. I suggest you go and see the teacher's comments. It is wonderful to see what teachers do to get your attention. Some of these things, this physics teacher is attention seeking, and I'm reading it. And when school reopens in January, I am all over that physics teacher. And that physics teacher and I are going to sit down and talk strategy, because we both know that there is problems brewing if we don't extend this kid. It might be that I will talk to this physics teacher and we'll realize, this kid needs to go in early entry. Or we need to extend this kid by this method. Or we need to challenge this kid using this method. Another one, which was interesting. Yeah, there is one subject where they are targeted an A star, end of key stage 4, targeted A star, end of the year, and currently on an A. And really, for a typical kid's trajectory, this is on target. This is good progress to target. But this particular subject deviates from this kid's profile completely. This is the one and only subject on the whole thing which has not hit his end of year target already. And again, that tells you this might be a weakness in a competent kid's arsenal. That subject teacher is another one you need to go and talk to. They are on track, but even though they are on track, they are not as on track as all the other subjects. So this might be a problem area. You need to go to talk to that teacher. And again, predictably, the teacher only says attitude to learning is good, not outstanding, good. You need to take those cues. You need to follow up some of those cues. Don't lose the opportunity, because people don't put good for the sake of it. It's easier to just write outstanding and end conversation. If somebody says that your kid's attitude to learning is only good or satisfactory, they are usually baiting you. They are usually sending you a signal. They are inviting you to take them on, because they usually have something to say to you in confidence. They usually want you to come in. They would like an opportunity to discuss the kid. They will want you to come so that they can have a comfortable conversation with you in the privacy of a small meeting, and they can tell you some honest truths off record. And most teachers, when you visit them on those occasions, would say, what I'm about to say to you is off record. But if your kid was mine, these would be my concerns. If your kid was mine, these would be my requests to school. I have done it for people before, and people have done it with my kids. And I'm telling you that you need to look at those report cards because it's usually written in code. You have to decipher those codes. There are certain codes which are from school, and I'll try and explain those, but I wanted you to pick up those strategically dropped attitude to learning grades, something which debunks the kid's typical profile, a teacher who refuses to go anything better than satisfactory, even though your kid has hit his target, is usually drawing you into conversation. So let me run through the codes again. In England, and I can only tell you from the English educational system, the Americans will have to help me out here. We don't be hi, else they hi. I drop no do hi everybody. I was so into this one, I forgot to greet you. Key stage 4 is KS4, and key stage 4 is year 10 and year 11 in most places, but some schools do year 9 all the way to 11. That's key stage 4. Key stage 5 is AS, year 12 and year 13. Key stage 3 is from year 7 to year 8 in some schools, or year 7 to 9 in some schools. So when you first enter secondary school, it's key stage 3. And then towards the exam classes, you are key stage 4. And if you go onto sixth form or college, key stage 5. And then you are heading on to university, tertiary education, if you choose to go that way. KS4, key stage 4. PG, progress targets. Progress targets are calculated from your key stage 2 data. EOY, end of year. TG is usually target grade. CG is current grade, and some schools write it as WG, working grade. Or some schools will do current working grade, what your kid is currently getting. It's that simple. Doesn't matter what they are targeted. The most important piece of information to you from a report is what your kid is currently getting. The target grades and the things are comparison based. You use them to make comparisons to check progress to target. And even times, those progress targets are a bit ridiculous. So you will have to look at the current grade and use the current grade to make your assessments. ATL is attitude to learning. That it says good doesn't mean your kids' scores are good. It tells you your kids' attitude is good. If it says outstanding, it doesn't mean your kid is the best in that subject. It just means that your kid tries very hard, might not really achieve much, but tries. And if you really look on most reports, it gives you the CGs for term 1, and it gives you ATLs from term 1. When we come to end of term 2, that would also be reported. And then for most people in England, you will only get a paper copy of a report at the end of term 3, but it's not the only report which is generated. Teachers put in grades every term so that students can be tracked internally every term. And if there is data available about your kids every term, I suggest that you become interested every term to request information. You should email your kids' teachers regularly to find out how are they doing. Are they pushing themselves? And they'll tell you their grades are fine. That's not the end of the story. What is their attitude like in your class? Have you seen any changes recently? Is there a positive development, or are we actually stalling? Are we making progress? Could we do better? How can I support you and my child so my child does better? What compensations need to be done? What should we do at home? We have 2 weeks with my kid at Christmas. What are his compensations? What do we need to do? And these simple interim reports will help you work out which subjects your kid is performing well in, which subjects your kid is not performing well in, which subjects could do with focus in attention and a bit of investment in time, energy, and resources, so that at the end of the year, that subject is not reported as a problem subject. That is the ultimate aim. Do you know how your kids are faring in school? We have come to the end of a term, and it's a good time to take stock. If you've not been sent progress reports, be clear that most schools do have them. Most schools do have them. They might not write the behavior and attitude all the time, but they do have a record of how your kid is performing. And if the information is not automatically generated and sent to you, a simple request from your teachers, will tell you, 1, what was their latest assessment score? Teachers can tell you that. How does that compare to their target grade? Many teachers can tell you that. And what can be done to improve and get better? These videos are quite specific, so I don't intend to drag it longer than necessary. I think the way I've explained it is quite self-explanatory, but I do not want to make assumptions. If you are on live and you have any questions, if your kid's school uses a different code system, if there is something that would be better explained that I've not already done so, this is your time to ask. This is your chance to ask me, so that whilst I am on, I can respond, I can give you the feedback before it becomes difficult to pin me down later. I am not going to wait for much longer. If we say a minute, I will wait and see. If I get any questions in that minute, I would love to answer you. But if I've done a good enough job and it's self-explanatory and you have no questions, then I will be very delighted with that one too. But please, if you take nothing from this video today, this is what I want you to do for me. I want you to check on the progress of your kids. I want you to, Hassan, hi. I want you to follow up with their teachers. If you are lucky and school sends you report cards, I suggest that you make sure you understand what the report card says. Because sometimes teachers like me would use the attitude grade to drop you messages. We don't get a chance to write sentences, but by simply saying your child is ordinary, I am asking you to come for a conversation. Your child is performing, but your kid could do better. I would drop their attitude grades. And if I drop their attitude grade, I expect that as a vigilant parent, you will pick that signal up and you will take me up on that invitation to come talk, to come deliberate. We are restricted in what we can say. And so many of us find our own little tricks to draw you into conversation. But in most cases, it goes right above people. And we are limited. There is nothing else we can do. Understand that the one thing we control is your kid's attitude to learning grade. That is our professional judgment. Has nothing to do with your kid's test score. Has nothing to do with anything else except the way we perceive your kids in class. It is probably the most powerful information you want to read on your kids' reports. Many of you take it for granted. It is usually an indicator of problems before problems exhibit themselves. If your kid's attitude is changing, you want to know. You want me to tell you what I've seen, and I do tell you. Sometimes waiting till the end of the year to find out that your kid had a bad attitude is a waste of a year. If you knew it in December, you could have done something about it in 2 terms. So if your kid's school is not sending you reports routinely, I am begging you to approach your teachers. I am begging you to request for it through the head of year. You can't hear me? Oh, wow. Richard, I don't know. Can the rest of you hear me? Richard says he can't hear. I have absolutely no way of working out. Nobody's complained yet, so I assumed all was well. Can the rest of you please give me a bit of feedback? Let's see. Way of working out. Nobody's complained. No, it sounds fine on my device. It sounds fine on my device. What about the rest of you? Can you hear me fine? If it's a problem with sound, can you please let me know? It would really break my heart if I've just been making noise in the background, because what I have actually said is profound for me. Very important. I want you to understand the attitude grades, attitude to learning, ATL, BFL, some people also call it behavior for learning. So check your kid's report card. Make sure you are checking all those things. Attitude for learning, behavior for learning, that is your first indicator of trouble. If your kid's attitude drops, invariably attainment will follow. Oh, it's loud and clear. Thank God for that. If attitude to learning or behavior for learning grades drop, understand that the attainment grades will follow. Those two things are directly correlated. A kid with a good attitude is a kid who can attain. Even a capable kid with a poor attitude will underperform, and you do not want that to happen. An attitude grade drop suggests that you should go see the professional who works with your kid, so that you can get a clearer picture of what things are like that they might not have given you on the report card. Definitely an invitation to come see me. So we don't mark your exercise books, and we cannot leave a come see me message. Dropping your kid's attitude to learning is your come see me message. Hassan, I'm good, very good. How are you? I hope you're well too. So I wanted to say that there are many other things I would like to pick up on report cards, but I want these videos to be short, snappy, precise, and concise. I don't want to have too many things going on, so that people who need to pick up specific things can come in, pick those things up, address them, and move on to the next video. So again, thank you, Richard. If you have any questions about these particular things, about interpreting the report card, about working out progress, knowing how to approach teachers, requesting for extra information, please do ask it. I will happily wait for another minute. If I've not had any questions, if there is no indication of a misunderstanding, then I will pat myself on the back, congratulate me that you have suddenly somehow understood what I have tried to communicate. That is my prayer anyway. But I do not want to assume, so I will wait and I will see. Please send me any questions that you have, make any comments which would invite me to clarify if there's something which requires clarification. And if there is nothing to clarify, then I will be very happy that you joined me. Hassan, you want meet for me for where? Where will I meet you, and why will I meet you, Hassan? You will have to explain to me why we need to meet and where we would meet. Any questions? No questions. Amma feels very satisfied that I've managed to get this off my chest, because this is a problem. This is a big problem. This is one of the things that I do with parents, and I'm just waiting. Come on, come on, come on, come to me. Oh, give me a ring. Come on. Don't miss this signal. It is so blatant. Don't miss it. Your kid has good grades, but I still say your kid has a bad attitude. Come see me so I can talk to you. Come, let me tell you the status of affairs. Maybe I might help you push your kid to become better. And that's usually what I'm looking for. Precious, hi. Good evening. I hope you are well. Thank you, everybody. No questions tells me that it's a good point to thank you so much for joining. Please share the video. These videos are targeted for parents, so if you know any parents groups, I don't know that many, put it in those groups for me. Invite those parents to watch. It doesn't matter where they are from. Maybe the codes are different in different countries, but at least it creates an awareness that student reports are written in code. It suggests the things that they need to pay attention to when those reports come. And it would tell people to request for those pieces of information even when they are not forthcoming. For me and my kids, we got interim report cards. Interim report cards that I have been reading like a hawk. Interim report cards which has helped me work out exactly what I need to be focusing on and which subjects might be causing problems for me and my kids that we need to work on. My kids, they are like chalk and cheese. What chalk needs, cheese doesn't need. What cheese needs, chalk doesn't need. But that reminds me of all those differences and the different compensations I need to make in order to get those two kids at the very best that they could possibly be. I hope this has been useful to you somewhat. And if you have any questions later, please do send me a message. I will try and respond. It's a bit slow because there are too many accounts to manage at the same time. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for sharing. God bless.